slip Marty a 20. That was an incredible, gracious introduction, and I thank you, Marty, for your leadership of this great and iconic community. He's heard me say it many times before. I'll say it again. There's a handful of communities. As they go, so goes New Jersey, and Atlantic City is prominently on that hand. So to you and your members of council, to your team, Ernie and others, I know Kaleem and others are here, and friends who go way back, thank you. I just had an incredibly cool moment, and I'm not sure he came in this room. Sean, did he? Okay, so Sean and I were just out with the Master Chief of Boat, Keith Cameron, who hails from the great state of Mississippi, and he is the boss of the USS New Jersey, which is a Virginia-class attack submarine that was christened in November of 2021 in Virginia, in Newport News. My wife and I were there to witness it. We think it is actually going to finally set sail in early April of next year, God willing, in waters off of New Jersey. Stay tuned. Keith is here with, I think he said, 7 other sailors from the boat who are here for the air show. And Marty, I want to wish you and everybody in Atlantic City a great air show. I guess Wednesday's the big day, which happens to be my birthday. And Tuesday, Ernie, it's because of the air show, not my birthday, that it's a big day. And tomorrow, I guess, is the test warm-up day. George and Tim told me they saw some fighter jets over the skies. So yet again, it'll be a big week in Atlantic City. And again, Marty, thank you. I also want to acknowledge, I mentioned some names already, but we have a bipartisan group with us today, and that says something about the legislation that I'm going to start signing in a few moments. Your very own Senator Vince Palestina. Vince, great to be with you. Senator, yeah, let's hear it for Vince. Fellow Senator Michael Testa. Mike, great to see you and great to be with you. Majority Leader in the State Assembly, Lou Greenwald. Lou, always an honor. Assemblywoman Claire Swift, who's here with a lot of her team Swift behind her, no relation to Taylor. Assemblyman to her left, Don Guardian, former mayor. Great to have you, Don. And to his left, another great friend and leader, Assemblyman Bill Moen. Bill, great to have you. I also want to thank some of the folks in South Jersey, and in particular right here in Atlantic City, who are helping to lead the fight. I mentioned him already, the director of the Casino Reinvestment Development Authority, Sean Patwell. Sean, great to have you with us. We have the CEO of the South Jersey Chamber of Commerce, another great friend and leader, Christina Renna. Christina, great to have you with us. Members of the Board of Commissioners, again from both sides of the aisle. Chief of Police, Chief Sarkos is with us. I also want to acknowledge from our administration, the CEO of the New Jersey Economic Development Authority, Tim Sullivan, is in the house, as well as Kim Holmes to his right, who is our acting head of the tremendous team at the Department of Community Affairs. Kim, great to have you here. Our Chief of Staff, as I mentioned, George Helmy, is in the house. Deputy Chief of Staff Tim Hillman is in the back of the house. And of course, and Marty, while I appreciate your gracious words, and from the bottom of my heart I say that, there was no bigger champion for Atlantic City who didn't actually live here than the DCA's former commissioner, my partner in government, the legendary Lieutenant Governor Sheila Y. Oliver. Amen. It is very hard to stand here today with her by my side. Sheila, we love you, and we're going to do everything we can to keep fighting for Atlantic City and for the broader mandate, both in DCA and her capacity as Lieutenant Governor. Steve Persky, where'd you go? Steve, I love you. Just to say, nice to be with you, as always. Finally, I want to give a shout out to a couple of folks who are not here, in particular our senators, Senator Bob Menendez, Senator Cory Booker, and our friends in the Biden administration. The reason I say that is that the bill I'm signing today would not have been possible without the American Rescue Plan, which Congress passed and the President signed back in March of 2021 as one of the instruments to help dig us out of the hole of the pandemic. So today we are once again putting those federal funds to good use. But first, let's remember why we're here. The Jersey Shore is where memories are made, And we need to make sure our families can keep creating those memories of summers down the shore for generations to come. Those childhood memories of eating way too much saltwater taffy by the steel pier, or memories of climbing to the top of the Absecon Lighthouse to take in that breathtaking view of Atlantic City, its skyline and the whole shore. And yes, maybe even those memories of a seagull dive bombing down to take a French fry out of your hand. Here in Atlantic City, New Jersey families, and frankly families from all over, have been spending their summers on this boardwalk for more than 150 years. As students of history will note, and Marty alluded to this, it is the oldest and longest boardwalk in the entire world. In fact, this historic convention hall, named in honor of another friend, the late Senator Jim Whalen, is a testament to Atlantic City's proud history, both back then and in the here and now. Here in this hall, Lyndon Baines Johnson was chosen as the Democratic nominee for president in 1964. I think as importantly, at the same convention, Fannie Lou Hamer, again from the great state of Mississippi, emerged as a civic and voting rights icon. Here in this hall, by the way, during the exact same month, the Beatles performed before thousands of adoring fans. Steve Persky was their warm-up act. And here in this hall, just 2 months ago, musical superstars Gavin DeGraw and Colby Calais brought down the house as part of the North to Shore Festival, which I can almost guarantee you we're going to repeat next year. The point is that Atlantic City is not just a Jersey treasure. Frankly, it's not even just an American treasure. It's a global treasure. But we also know that Atlantic City, like many communities along the shore, has seen its share of tough times in recent years. During the COVID pandemic, for instance, tourism dried up. The boardwalk outside this hall was empty, and businesses from restaurants to casinos shuttered. Fortunately, thank God, things have changed since then for the better. Atlantic City and the shore in its entirety are back. They're roaring back. Today, the boardwalk here is bustling. Tourism is thriving. Just 2 days ago, thousands of country music fans gathered here on the beach for the Tidal Wave Music Festival. I mentioned the air show this week. It is proof that we, as one New Jersey, have reemerged from the dark depths of the pandemic. So now it's our collective responsibility to sustain this economic recovery for generations to come, to keep our longstanding promise to our shore communities that we will not let you fall behind. Frankly, we can't afford to let you fall behind, because the wooden main streets of Atlantic City, along with every shore community, will lead us to New Jersey's economic and cultural future. And today we're investing in that future, as Marty mentioned, in a big way. In a few moments, I'll have the pleasure of signing the Boardwalk Preservation Fund Act into law. When signed, this bill, which passed alongside this year's budget, and again, I want to give the representatives from Legislative District 2 who supported that budget, will create a $100 million fund that is specially designed to support the repair and renovation of boardwalks up and down the shore, from the Wildwoods to Atlantic City, from Seaside Heights to Asbury Park, and all the other communities that host boardwalks. I want to take this opportunity to thank Senators Paul Sarlo, Michael Testa, Majority Leader Lou Greenwald, Assemblyman Bill Moen, Senator Vince Polistina, and Vin Gopal for sponsoring and co-sponsoring this important legislation, importantly, a bipartisan group. I also want to thank our legislative leadership more generally, Lou in particular, you here today, for their work together on this year's budget, which I believe and will always believe was a huge victory for our state's families. But wait, I feel like this is a Ginsu knife commercial. There's more, because today, in addition to signing this legislation into law, I'm also announcing that we are officially opening up the application process immediately for our Boardwalk Preservation Fund. If in doubt, and Kim will correct me, go to nj.gov/DCA, as in Department of Community Affairs. Starting literally right now, shore communities can submit their proposals to receive the financial support they need to get started on repairs. Just make sure, folks, if you're watching, to submit your application by the deadline, which is October 31 of this year, 2023. These projects will mean so much more than simply replacing a few planks of wood here or there. With the Boardwalk Preservation Fund, we're going to repair and renovate crumbling boardwalk infrastructure, remove blight along the shoreline, and invest in facilities and improvements that will make our boardwalks more accessible so every member of the family can enjoy the wonders of the shore. Moreover, these new boardwalks will be stronger and more resilient in the face of a threat that's becoming clearer and inching closer every day, which is the climate crisis. We all remember Superstorm Sandy. After all, who could forget that shocking image of the roller coaster up in Seaside Heights being swept out into the Atlantic, or the damage that was done right here? It took years and tens of millions of dollars to rebuild the boardwalk here after Sandy hit. And that was more than a decade ago, and it doesn't take a meteorologist to see that these seasonal storms are becoming more frequent and more intense. I was up in Warren County a couple of weeks ago. Thank God the feds are going to come up with a significant amount of money to help that county get on their feet. But they saw devastation. I heard two things, and we're hearing this all too often. It's never been like this here before, whether it's flooding or destruction, or, yeah, we've seen a little of this, but it's never been this bad. You're hearing that time and time again. Since we got into office, one of our top priorities has been combating the climate crisis from setting ambitious clean energy targets to protecting our frontline communities, like those especially living along the shore. That's why, as part of this effort, we're going to build newer, more durable boardwalks that can weather the superstorms of tomorrow. And this is an investment that will not just save taxpayers money in the here and now, but down the line, because it'll prevent having to make future expenditures in disaster response and recovery. The Jersey Shore has been drawing in tourists and travelers from across the globe for well more than a century. And if we work together, we can keep drawing in those visitors, and by the way, the dollars that they bring for the next century. And our success in revitalizing our shore communities will really be measured by our success in so many respects right here in Atlantic City, an economic engine for the entire region. So, again, in order to keep this engine revved up, this year's budget also invested tens of millions of dollars of American Rescue Plan dollars into the recovery and economic success specifically of Atlantic City beyond our boardwalks. And Tim Sullivan at the EDA will oversee what I believe will ultimately be $30 million of investment directly into AC. It has the potential to support everything from renovating vacant buildings to installing new streetlights to any amount of infrastructure in Atlantic City. And with these new investments, we're going to build a new economic foundation for Atlantic City's future. A future where families feel safe, our streets are clean, the businesses that have lined these wooden main streets for generations can keep their doors open and thriving for the next generation. That is all to say that the best days lie ahead for Atlantic City, for the Jersey Shore, and beyond. Now, before I go over and sign on the dotted line, we have a couple of folks we'd love to hear from. Next up to bat is the outstanding senator representing this district and this community. Please help me welcome Senator Vince Palestina.
Happy birthday, Governor. We like you coming to Atlantic City in August because it seems like it's an annual event, and you're always bringing reinvestment down to the city of Atlantic City when you're here, which is, of course, a wonderful thing for our area. Just a sad note, obviously, I think we're all sad that the Lieutenant Governor cannot be here to join us. Obviously, a champion for the city of Atlantic City, and this is really part of her legacy, is trying to get reinvestment into the city of Atlantic City. And so we miss her, but we thank her for everything she did on behalf of the people of this state. Just want to talk about Atlantic County generally. It's been an incredible 2 years for me. Obviously, I got appointed to this spot a couple years ago, and I believe with the governor's leadership, Chief of Staff Helmy, Tim Hillman, who you heard, Tim Sullivan from EDA, Dr. Holmes, the team from Trenton has been so incredibly bipartisan, working with us here in Atlantic County, not just on this fund, but on every topic you can imagine in Atlantic County. It really is an incredible testament. I didn't know them 2 years ago. They didn't know me 2 years ago. Someone probably wished that there was somebody else in this spot at that time, but it has been, building relationships over the last 2 years. I remember going with Tim Hillman and Justin Braz the first meeting. Obviously, I had my priorities, they had their priorities, and we just were able to develop a tremendous relationship, which has benefited the people of Atlantic County. New Atlantic County prosecutor, 5 Superior Court judges, appointments to the Stockton Board, appointments to the CRDA Board, appointments to the SJTA Board. It has been done in a bipartisan fashion with cooperation, with leadership, and then you start talking about the investments in this area. Atlantic Care is here, just got an investment from the state of New Jersey. Stockton University just got the most money in history from the governor's budget, for over $46 million, bipartisan investments into Atlantic County. The tourism economy, obviously, with this investment and future investments that the governor spoke about, are tremendously, incredibly important for an area that depends on tourism, depends on this economy. And then the Aviation Research Park, kind of the 4 pillars we have talked about here in Atlantic County, diversifying this economy, investing in the research park, investing in the airport, are just so important. So I just want to thank you, Governor. Thank George Helmy, thank Tim Hillman, Justin Braz, who was there, the entire team who have really focused on Atlantic County. And it really is, when you think about it, take a step back, try to put, the partisanship aside and a lot of the polarization in this country right now. You take a look at Atlantic County over the last 2 years, it really has been the epitome of working together, reinvesting in our communities, getting things done on behalf of the people we serve. And at the end of the day, as we all know, that's exactly what the Lieutenant Governor was about, was people and helping people, and that's what we are here to do every single day. Simply do what we can in our various government capacities to help people. So thank you very much to the entire team. Really appreciate it. Honor for me to be here. And I will just note finally, this bill, Governor mentioned bipartisanship, 37-0 in the state Senate. Every single senator that was there voted in favor of this Boardwalk Preservation Fund. And so that tells you we are doing real work for the people in a bipartisan fashion in this state. Thank you very much, everyone.
Well done. When you get something 37-0, you know it's a good day. And the 3 folks couldn't be there, so it wasn't like they were opposed to it either. So that's a shutout. Thank you, Vince, for your leadership and for your gracious words. And I think when we can work together across the aisle, we're stronger and better as a state. That doesn't mean we have to give up our principles or beliefs, but that also doesn't mean we can't find common ground. And we've been doing that a lot lately. So thank you for that and for your leadership. We got 2 chambers of legislators. They're both outstanding. We just heard Vince representing the Senate. Please help me welcome, I think, an icon in the Assembly, especially but not limited to South Jersey, because he and I go as far back as I go with anyone in elected office in this state. He's a dear friend and he's a great leader. Please help me welcome the Majority Leader of the State Assembly, Lou Greenwald.
Thank you, everyone. I don't think it's a stretch to say that you're going to hear a lot of common themes about this majestic woman, our friend Sheila Oliver, who I had the privilege to work with as the Majority Leader when she was Speaker. When Sheila first became involved in what was the legislation to create the partnership to help restore Atlantic City to its greatness, she came down and I think she had concerns. But I don't think it's a stretch to say by any imagination that she fell in love with the city and with its people. And she would be very proud to see what we are doing here today and to remember the great history of this city. She will be missed, but her memory will live involved with what we do from this point going forward for as long as we continue this effort. And we will continue this effort until it is completed. If you look out those doors, and what today really stands for in so many ways, if you walk out those doors a little bit today, doors like these up and down our coast represent a $40 billion plus industry a year. And it is critically important that this investment goes into our iconic boardwalks. The boardwalk outside is 153 years old. It's the first of its kind. It was first in the country. And it has become, like the other boardwalks up and down our coast, a symbol for this great community and for our tourism trade that we represent. These boardwalks are very much a symbol of what New Jersey is for the summer experience. They are very much a part of our lives. They are a part of my childhood. They are a part of my children's childhood. And they will be part of memories for children to come for generations because of the investment that we make. And we are doing so not just to make an investment in these boardwalks, but as the governor said, to make sure that they are sustainable economically and environmentally for generations to come. We cannot put our hands proverbially anymore in the sand and pretend that things that we see around the world, around the globe, and even in New Jersey are not happening. So it is critically important that when we do this, we do it intelligently and we do it together. The legislation about Atlantic City was about creating a partnership. And it was a recognition that nobody is in this alone, and that partnership had to exist with the great leadership that we had locally, but also combining that with county efforts and state efforts. And if you look at the history of this, that has transcended partisan politics because we have had Democrats and Republicans serving at every level. And that investment has been so important so that the children that are here today, Assemblywoman Swift's children, understand that what you might see nationally and what you might see from blogs and propaganda, you can step outside of it and you can make things work. And the investment that we have made and that we are so proud of and what the investment in these boardwalks make and why our leader of the South Jersey Chamber is here is because it is very much an investment in small businesses all the way up to some of our most important businesses. And that's why today you see some of our leaders, whether it's South Jersey Industries, Stockton University, or our great friends with world-class care at Atlantic Care in our backyard that benefit from this investment because they benefit the small businesses and their families, and they help invest in our state across the board. So this investment is while it is significantly important that it is an investment in our boardwalks, it is much bigger than that. And that is the purpose for why we are here today. So I'm very honored to be here with my friend, the governor. I've been very proud to work on the things that we've done together. And I say this all the time, whether it's been through my years, yes, I've been around a long time, whether it's through Governor Whitman, Governor Christie, Corzine McGreevey, and now Murphy. The best things we do are the things we do together. And I'm very proud to be here today with so many of my colleagues from both parties. So thank you very much.
I just said I want to come back as Lou. He's up here. He doesn't have a note in front of him. Just looks good, sounds good, is good. Thank you for your very gracious words, Lou, and for your leadership. So last but not least, we talk about the memories, and Claire's kids are here. Great example of that. We talk about the culture, which is so important. It's so Jersey specific, so Jersey centric. This is also cold-blooded economic, as Lou alluded to. This is a huge part of our economy as a state. So this is investing in memories. This is investing in culture and who we are as a state. But this is an investment that's going to pay back multiples over the years and generations to come. And embodying that, another friend to see us out here, Christina Renna is the president of the South Jersey Chamber of Commerce. It's an organization that we have done a lot with in our time in office for good reason. It's a chamber that really works, that really brings folks to the table and leads to great action. So please help me welcome its leader, Christina Renna.
Well, thank you so much, Governor, and good morning, everyone. When the invitation came from the governor's team to be here today, my first thought immediately went to Lieutenant Governor Sheila Oliver. And that is because rewinding back to 2020 and 2021, Governor Murphy and Lieutenant Governor Oliver had the foresight to create something called the Atlantic City Restart and Recovery Task Force. And I was honored to be named vice chair. Dr. Kimberly Holmes, who is here today, is leading that as we speak. Judge Persky, who has been named several times, has been involved, and several other people in this room as well. Those meetings were so important because Atlantic City had an unbalanced impact due to the pandemic, given the economic situation and landscape of this area and this county. And the stakeholders that were a part of that task force talked collectively, not just about the economy, but about all the pieces that need to come back together. And Lieutenant Governor Oliver was at the very top of every single one of those conversations, steering that group, leading us and guiding us in the right direction. I say all that to say that a report was issued in May of 2021 from that task force, and I give a lot of credit to Judge Persky, who's back there smiling, because not a meeting went by that the Boardwalk wasn't brought up here in Atlantic City. Not a meeting. Multiple times usually in a meeting, the Boardwalk was brought up, and Lieutenant Governor Oliver agreed wholeheartedly that there needed to be investment made in Atlantic City's Boardwalk. So that brings me to being here today. And in February of 2023, when the governor gave a State of the State address and very loosely, lightly floated something Boardwalk-ish in the State of the State address, the South Jersey Chamber was thrilled, waiting for more, waiting for details. And then a month later, when he delivered the fiscal year 2024 budget address, and we heard about this $100 million Boardwalk Revitalization Fund, my ears perked up again, and the entire chamber family was thrilled because it was in the vision that was created, and I know not all $100 million is going to Atlantic City, as we've said, but it is certainly a start at completing the work that was started as a result of that task force that I was very proud to be a part of. I say all of that to say that as you look up and down the shoreline, and you look at our shore communities, of course, the beach, first and foremost, is most important. But the Boardwalk is right behind that beautiful water and sand. And a boardwalk that is safe, refurbished, kept in good shape, brings business. Business brings jobs. It brings housing opportunities in certain areas, which are vastly needed all along the shoreline, all along the state, but all along the shoreline. And New Jersey isn't unique that our boardwalks are in somewhat of state of disrepair, in certain areas more so than others. And so this fund is going to be the perfect allocation to get the ball rolling, to continue the good work that we have seen since Superstorm Sandy of revitalizing our boardwalks. And again, I say all of this as a thank you to Governor Murphy and his leadership for allocating this money. And as has been said by Majority Leader Greenwald and Senator Palestina, this is one of the very few budget initiatives that I've ever seen in my 20 years in state government that had no pushback. $100 million for boardwalks? Absolutely. Bipartisan. Everyone was thrilled about it. And so I'm very proud to stand here today, and I thank you again, Governor. And of course, Lieutenant Governor Oliver, I strongly feel, as we all do, that this one is also for her. So thank you very much.
Christina, thank you. That was really well done and well said, in particularly making the cold, hard-edged money economic argument, which is important. You guys have done a great job on that. So 3 quick comments. Atlantic Care has been mentioned. Their leadership is here. Just a particular shout out. We hosted the National Governors Association in Atlantic City about a month ago, and one of the field trips was to Atlantic Care, and you all were incredibly impressive and impressed the heck out of a lot of our visitors. Secondly, Sheila, his name has been invoked on a number of occasions here this morning. The idea first came up in conversations, Lou, I believe I had with you and Steve Sweeney about the Boardwalk Fund back in the day. We finally got here. It took us a while. We got here. But the first person I called after hearing it was Sheila, to make sure in her capacity as the partner to Marty and his team in Atlantic City that this worked for her, and she jumped at it. And a big reason why this got in the budget as it did is because of Sheila. And so it's not just her legacy more broadly today that we salute and commemorate, but also specific to this. This is nothing to do with anything today, but it's the first time I've been behind a podium since Dick Cody announced yesterday that he's stepping back. And I wanted to give Governor Cody a shout out in public. He called me yesterday morning before this went out. He reminded me that he's been at it for 50 years. Lou, you're not quite there yet, but 5-0, longest. You're not getting there either. I said, Dick, I've been at it for 6 years. I can't imagine. And he said, you ain't getting there either. But he's the longest serving legislator in New Jersey's history. And he's going to run through the tape. He's going to serve out his term. And I wanted to give him a huge shout out. He was really good to me when it was cold, dark, and lonely for me personally. With that, without any further ado, let's get over and get this sucker signed. Come on down. This is a short, I guess this is what happens when you have federal money. There's not much to write here. Let me do the money shot. I can't see a thing, but apparently this is what people do. I'm told Persky is out there, but I can't.
Left-handed.
Left-handed, correct.
We had our day the other day. You left-handed too?
Okay, that's a good thing. Okay, so this is Senate Bill number 3989. The synopsis is it establishes the Boardwalk Preservation Fund in the Department of Community Affairs. It appropriates $100 million from Federal American Rescue Plan Act of 2021, as I mentioned from the podium, sponsored by Paul Sarlo and Michael Testa in the Senate, Lou Greenwald, Bill Moen in the Assembly, and co-sponsored by Senators Vince Palestina and Vin Gopal. Can I have 3 more, please? Thank you. Look at this. Christian is like the guy I always want to see in the corner here. Let's start by giving it up for the mayor of the great city of Atlantic City, Marty Swift. We just heard from her, Christina Renner, representing the South Jersey Chamber of Commerce. Atlantic City's Senator, we heard from him, Senator Vince Palestina. Vince, where are you, buddy? Assembly Majority Leader, we just heard from Lou Greenwald. Lou, where are you, buddy? All the way in from Camden County. Bill Moen, Assemblyman. Where are you, Bill? Assemblyman, Atlantic City Zone, Don Guardian's in the house. Don? I asked George Helmy if I could come without a tie. I should have called Don. Today is what? 15th. Holiday in the Catholic Church, am I right? Yes. Just checking. Mike, did I miss you? I didn't get Michael Testa, Senator Mike Testa. Where are you, buddy? God bless you, buddy. Assemblywoman Claire Swift. Claire? Christian, come on down. Steve, raise your hand. Give that pen to Steve Persky, right there. Very nice to me when it was completely cold, dark, and lonely. He actually gave me the lay of the land in Atlantic City. And
glad you're here.
I love you, buddy. I love you, buddy. Okay, these last 3. Hold on. This is now, my honor. This is now, if I may stand.